That's not a stretch of imagination at all. In fact, I'd be surprised if they hadn't done it. Just think about it for a minute. Now, here's a secret called flight. So you thought that manned flight began with the Wright brothers back in 1903. Would you be surprised? Would you believe that flying machines could cross the oceans and cover the vast distances between continents in the earliest times BC? Well, listen to this. People all over the world have retained separate memories of a period when aviation was a well-known concept and flight was a frequent occurrence. And what's more, their writings demonstrate a knowledge of aerodynamics and an awareness of the factors of takeoff, propulsion, braking, and landing. But first, I would like to draw your attention to some giant drawings found all over the world. And the question is, why are there so many of these designed to be seen only from above? So we take a look at petroglyphs made to be seen from the air. In England, the Long Man of Wilmington, Sussex, is a human outline, 226 feet long, formed by an immense ditch. The figure can be seen solely from above, and even then, one has to be high up. In England, the Gog and Magog giants on hills near Cambridge are of such dimensions as to suggest that their construction was controlled from the air. In England, there is a 360-foot-long white horse at Uffington in Berkshire Downs. In England, the famous Cerne Abbas giant, a 180-foot human figure, is outlined by chalk trenches on a Dorset hillside. In England, the great zodiac of Glastonbury was a huge stone calendar laid out in a circle 30 miles in circumference and apparently meant to be seen from above. In Wisconsin, in the United States, then there are the Elephant and Serpent Mounds in Wisconsin. California, the Mojave Maze in Ohio, the Great Serpent Mound of Bush Creek, over 1,300 feet long. Its open jaws are 60 feet. In California, the Horse, 40 feet long, the Giantess, 87 feet high, and the Giant, 96 feet tall, all three at Bly, California. Arizona, the 150-foot-tall Giant at Sacaton, S-A-C-A-T-O-N. And in Louisiana, 6 enormous octagons with a total length of 11.2 miles near Poverty Point. Now, like the Nazca spider and monkey and so on, these can only be seen from the air. Why would you make something that you can't even recognize on the ground? How would you make it unless you had been in the air to direct its construction? These are all sights. They're all there. They're all physical. They've been seen, weighed, touched, tasted, smelled, felt, photographed, documented. How come you and I never heard of them? I never heard of these things. You know, just taking a look here at the California. They say here, there's this California here, Bly, California, the Horse, 40 feet long, a Giantess, 87 feet high, and a Giant, 96 feet long, tall. Never heard of such a thing. I've never heard of that. Now, there's a stylized figure of a man 330 feet long in Chile. There are said to be many other sites of the Nazca kind in Peru and Chile. Now, I've heard of the Nazca site, but I never heard that there were more of them. Now, that doesn't mean that I know everything. You know, I'm always learning something new. That's why I kind of like my job, because nearly every day Dirk comes in here and hands me some report. It can be some economic report that's modern. It can be some book. It can be some story that came from the four corners of the world someplace, on China or someplace. I reported to you the other day. Did you know that there were pyramids larger than the Pyramid of Cheops? Now, I've been told all my life that Great Pyramid is the biggest building, the biggest pyramid in the world. Come to find out that there's 4 or 5 more pyramids bigger than that one in China, for crying out loud. I didn't know that. Now, I've reported it to you, and the reason that I did that was because there's 969 of these reports. I said that if all of them were false except 10% of them, it would knock the theory of evolution right square in the head. And I don't have any reason to doubt that any of them are here. He has followed this up with footnotes. I mean, if you want to go take a look at the site, the document, the exhibit, you know, the maps are in here. The locations and the sites are there. You know, if you want to jump on a plane, run over to Britain, walk into the British Museum, the batteries are there. Now, I've known about that one for a long time. Now, not every single one of these is hidden away someplace. Many of these are out on display. Which then leads me to ask the question, why aren't they all out on display? I mean, at least the pictures of them. Why don't we have more books than this, you know, that have pictures in our colleges and high schools and universities that say, hey, listen, you know, if you think that men were dumb and that they were dragging their knuckles on the back of the ground here a few thousand years ago, you know, clean up your act, start thinking straight. That wasn't the case. It may well be true that there were people walking around with their knuckles dragging on the ground like they are in Stone Age societies, the Aborigines in Australia, the Stone Age cannibals of Indonesia. That's true, no doubt about it. But contemporaneous with them, there are space age men living, firing rockets off to the space station, for crying out loud. How come we're not told about that? It's been going on for a long time. Now let's take a look at flight. Sumerian cylinder seals show great numbers of machines flying in the sky as matter-of-factly as if it were a daily occurrence. British Isles, Druid legends speak of magical machines capable of traveling on land, sea, and air. The Celts in Britain, Bran's chariot did not touch the water. Celts, Manannan's flying machine took him from Ireland to England by night. Druid tradition in Britain, Aberrus of Britain traveling through the air to Greece with the aid of a golden arrow. Now, these legends here, they sound, you know, like they're, oh my God, you can't believe that. Well, let's picture this. Let's suppose an airplane flies over New Guinea in 1945, 1935, 1925. What do you think those Stone Age people are going to say? They're going to pass a tradition down. They're going to say something like, a great eagle flew over the jungle with men inside of it. Now, pass that down for 3,000 years, and what are you going to see? There's a fact. They saw something. They didn't know what it was. They couldn't call it an airplane. How in the hell would a Stone Age Aborigine use the word airplane? We see the same thing going on in the book of Revelation when John was given a vision. And he's describing these scorpions with stings in their tails, controlled by men, and the flesh melting off of people's bodies. Today, we could visualize that very simply. It's a Apache helicopter with a sting in its tail, which is, or with this laser beam, or with machine guns, and with rockets firing off of it. But, you know, for hundreds of years, people reading the book of Revelation, you know, they're looking mysteriously, superstitiously at these events and at these stories, at these legends, at these stories. So the Druids and many other people throughout history have these traditions. Well, what they're talking about here is you've got superior technologies in the United States flying airplanes over Stone Age people in Indonesia or on Borneo someplace, and these people on Borneo are telling what they saw. And then, thousands of years later, we take a look at it, and my God. Now, they're actual relics. In fact, he's got some pictures in here of relics. In fact, this section in here, let's see how many there are. On page 294, there are all kinds of models of airplanes. I mean, this is absolutely perfectly describable. This object, this is called Figure 26 on page 294. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 objects in here that have been dug up or brought out of tombs that are unmistakable airplanes. One of them here looks like a model airplane that I built once. This object, once thought to be a bird, was found in a tomb in Egypt in 1898. Now picture this. Here's an archaeologist in 1898. He pulls a model airplane out of a tomb. He doesn't know what he's looking at. So he bundles it up. He says, well, this must be some kind of a religious object over here. They must be worshiping this thing. Doesn't have anything to do with worship. Doesn't have anything to do with religion. It has to do with science and technology. Stuffed in a box of bird models in one of Cairo Museum storerooms, it was rediscovered in 1969. And it was found to fly perfectly as a glider, though there are indications that it may originally have possessed a propulsion mechanism at the tail. The design is highly sophisticated. Here's a gold jet from Colombia, South America. Its features are more mechanical than biological. Experts at the Aeronautical Institute of New York concur that it does not represent any known type of winged creature. It appears to be a model of an ancient jet aircraft. That's from the Aeronautical Institute of New York. They took a look at it and said, this isn't a bird. This is a jet airplane. Which is exactly right. And when it was dug up out of the tombs back in the 1800s, they looked at it and said, well, this must be a bird of some kind. They didn't know. Now, of course, they're not too anxious now to put these out on display. That's the tragedy of it. Here's the might ancient aircraft be found. Now, one is led to contemplate the intriguing possibility, however remote, of such a discovery. Could craft be of any size and surprising shapes? Well, did you notice how frequently ancient flying machines were described as shaped like an egg, or like a hat, or a sphere, or a disc in items 53, 61, 62, 74, and so on?